Well, Matt, we are kind of around Titans country around here, but I know that a lot of Titans fans don't like Baltimore too much, but they've certainly taken an interest in Bobby Rainey. What are your impressions of his performance so far with the Ravens?
Well, he came in as, an undrafted rookie free agent, and he showed up in training camp, and he kind of caught everyone's eye a little bit, but he really is kind of just taken off in training camp. It really showed just, his playmaking ability, especially his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. And, he started to get buzz. It helped that Ravens coach John Harbaugh, who has some family ties to Western Kentucky, he was buzzing about Bobby early in training camp. And then, Bobby came into three preseason games and, played well. He scored a couple touchdowns, both receiving touchdowns. And, it looks like right now it's kind of a coin flip whether or not he's going to make the 53-man roster.
Last year, you look at Ray Rice, who had so many carries. He had the bulk of the load, a little bit with Vontae Leach as well. But beyond that, no one really got any major carries, yet he still comes in to the camp with a lot of questions on whether or not he makes the team because of drafting Bernard Pierce. Anthony Allen's also there. Would it be fair to say that when camp started, he was a long shot to make the team?
Oh, that's definitely fair to say. Now, it was no doubt the Ravens were looking for, kind of a bigger power back, and that certainly doesn't fit the mold with Bobby there, because they had Ricky Williams last year who, came and maybe gave him about 100 carries or so, but that was a role that they were looking for someone to fill, and they believe that person's going to be Bernard Pierce, and, they thought, it seemed like Anthony Allen, who was a seventh-round pick from Georgia Tech a year ago, was kind of, nearly a lock to make the team, but, he hasn't done as well as expected, and Bobby Rainey has certainly made the most of his opportunity. But I don't know if it's going to help him or hurt him, though, that he has such a similar stature to Ray Rice. I mean, they're about the same height, same size, and, it's funny, I saw him yesterday walking off the field together, and I was trying to eye him up to see who was a little shorter, and, Bobby looked like he might be like a quarter inch shorter, but I don't know if that's going to hurt them or help them that they have the same size and they have similar skill sets. But, the fact is that, even if the Ravens don't add him to the 53-man roster, teams have seen him play in the preseason. I wouldn't be surprised, if another team picked him up if the Ravens try to sneak him onto the practice squad.
What do you feel like Rainey needs to do in this last preseason game to maybe do that one final thing to tip the scales in his favor and get on the 53-man roster?
Well, I think it's all about production. I mean, the Ravens aren't really running the ball a ton in the preseason because they're trying to just get the kinks out with the passing game. But, Bobby has done well with the touches he's had, specifically the passes thrown his way. I mean, he scored on a screen pass where he made a few guys miss in the first game, and in the third game, he, caught a pass in the flat, made a guy miss, and was gone. And if he can continue to produce and make plays, I think he's a lock, to make the team at that point if he produces well. And something, another tangible thing that, would help him is if he shows that he can, be a factor in pass protection. If they're giving him an opportunity, if he can pick up some blocks in this next game, I think that might also kind of check something off the list for them and maybe kind of, lessen any fears about, his ability to do that. And that way, that's just another thing he might be able to help the team because, if he's going to come in as the third back, they're going to be asking him, maybe to do a little bit of everything and not a lot of nothing. So, if he can produce and come through with another big day, I think, he's going to make this team.
You're around training camp, you're in the locker room, afterwards. Have you gotten any sense that he has won over some of his teammates there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can see the players kind of warming up to him, and it's just kind of with all rookies too. They're just kind of, it's like being new kids in school where you come in and you're kind of trying to fight your way into some established cliques and get to know some guys, and you can definitely see with all the rookies. But Bobby's no exception. I think. His teammates have certainly noticed, how hard he's worked and how well he's played so far. And, like I said, he was walking off the field with Ray Rice yesterday. The two were chatting, and he's certainly been, kind of leaning on Ray Rice, who is, becoming, one of the leaders of this team, right, along with, Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. And, I know that Bobby has been picking his brain, trying to get as much advice as possible. So, I think he would be a good fit, and definitely with his work ethic, and the Ravens kind of have they love those undrafted free agents. They always seem to find one or two or three every year where guys fly in under the radar and fit in and fit that Ravens mold.
The Hilltopper fan base has been buzzing quite a bit here in the last few weeks. They're on Twitter like crazy, and Rainey is, I believe, retweeted every single one, or at least made a comment with every single one. So he's obviously won over the fans, here in Bowling Green. I understand that someone used the term cult following in regards to the fans in Baltimore when it comes to Bobby. Do you agree with that?
Well, I certainly see all the retweets because they flood my Twitter feed, but. Yeah, I don't know if it's, cult hero status yet. Certainly you see people saying, oh, I'm going to pick you for my fantasy team and things like that, which is, pretty interesting because, if you know fantasy football, the opportunities might not be there right away if he does make the team. But, certainly if he's able to come in and produce and, God forbid something happened to Ray Rice or something and he were to step up, I think at that point he might definitely be able to reach the cult hero status. But, certainly you could say that he has quite a buzz going for him, and it just continues to build. And I think if he, makes the team, there'll be even more buzz and people will be clamoring for him and want to see what he can do. I mean, he also will be in the mix in the return game as well. So, that's another thing that he brings to the table. It'll be interesting just to see what kind of niche he's able to carve out if he does make the team.
At the end of the day, I'll put you on the spot. Does Rainey make the 53-man roster?
I think he does. I've said it all along. I made a little bet, non-monetary with one of my coworkers early in camp that I thought he was going to make the team, and I'm sure to remind my coworker of the bet I made every single time he makes a big play. And as we look, we're 3 days out from the final roster cuts. Unless something drastic changes in the preseason game, I think we will see Bobby Rainey on the roster. And if they don't, I'm sure the Ravens are going to be pushing hard to try to get him to stick around on the practice squad.
Would that be maybe the biggest surprise of camp if he makes this team?
It would be up there. It certainly would be up there. There's some other undrafted free agents that are competing for a spot. Deontay Thompson is a wide receiver from Florida. There's Jack Cornell, a guard from Illinois. And Nigel Carr, who is from a small school. And, I think, coming through the off-season workouts, we got a good look at all those guys, and there was some buzz. But I think, if we're talking straight training camp, I don't think Bobby Rainey was flying quite as high on the radar until he got to training camp. He's really taken off. So, if it's not the biggest surprise of Ravens training camp, it's certainly one of the top 2 or 3 for sure.